Hi, everyone, and welcome to the One Podcast. I am so excited to introduce our guest today. When I went and looked her up to tell you about her, I laughed because I absolutely love her banner. Today we have Fiona Flyte, and on her banner, it says Pie in the Sky with Fiona. And I just love that. I want you to tell us a little bit about your history and tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
Absolutely. I think that I'll just start right there
Yeah.
because it'll tell you so much about what I do
Mhm.
anyway. So I received a message, an unsolicited message from a follower on Facebook.
Okay.
And the message said, I'm just wanting to let you know that I'm going to disconnect from you here. I'm going to disconnect from you because your stuff, and by stuff, he meant my content, my social
Yeah.
media
Yeah.
content, which for me is my art, mind you.
Yes.
And my art, I'm an artist. My art is an
Yes.
extension of who I am as a human being.
Right.
My stuff, meaning me,
Uh-huh.
my stuff was too far on the other side. I love that too, other side, not just the regular, but the other side,
Uh-huh.
too far on the other side of pie in the sky.
That's hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing right when you started. And I love that he had the courtesy of coming to tell you, I'm going to disconnect from you.
Yes.
So I'm making it known that I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
I'm really important to you. And this is why. Well, just
Yes.
go. You're welcome. Go ahead and go. That's hilarious. So how long ago was that?
It was actually really recent. So the pie in the sky is my next free masterclass. If
Gosh.
you saw this next, if you saw this in a couple of weeks, it wouldn't be there anymore. It's
Oh,
just this moment in time you caught pie in the sky
that is
because
perfect.
what am I going to do with that? He also said it was just too good. He
Yeah.
also wanted me to know that I needed to ground myself in consensus reality. And
Oh.
so I know. And so I had to think about this. I was like, okay, am I
Mhm.
too far on the other side of pie in the sky, first of all? And is my content, is my art, am I not in consensus reality? And what I realized is that, and is there anything I need to change?
Okay.
And so I was like, I don't want to be part of consensus reality.
Right.
I'm doing something right.
Yes.
This is an example of the followers, the dream people clarifying for themselves whether they should or shouldn't be in my audience. And since I teach artists the art of business and branding and social media, it was like ding, ding, I'm doing it exactly right. I'm actually doing what it is that I'm teaching. My content, my stuff, my art is repelling the
Yes.
person that it doesn't resonate with. It's not for him.
Oh, I
And
love
so
this.
as that dropped in, it was like, okay, so now what do I do with this? Since it's not for him and I'm clear, I don't need to take this on. I
Mm-mm.
don't need to change this. I don't need to feel ashamed. I don't need to second guess myself. So why don't I lean into it?
Perfect. And make it so fun. And
If he hasn't
awesome.
disconnected.
If he's exited but still peeks in on you. I'm going to walk out the door, but I'm still going to walk past your house on occasion. I'm going to do a flyby, drive by, whatever. That's a great way to take it and not take it personal and not get offended, which I know it's so easy when you get started with a business online that we're really sensitive to what people say. And then it can be discouraging. I like that you contemplated what he said. Sometimes we just brush that off, especially if it's hateful or hurtful. Makes perfect sense. But what you turned it into something positive and fun. So with the masterclass, are you going to keep a recording of that and turn it into something if people find this later down the road? Or is it a like, here magical, gone when it's gone?
wild. This is so wild because I hadn't thought about that at all, but I had clarity that this actually wasn't going to be a gone thing.
Oh, I love that.
It
Okay.
actually is going to be a thing that I
Yay.
wanted people to have. Like that's part of why it's free. It's
Mhm.
like if somebody is coming to me and saying, you know what? You're so unrealistic and so delusional. What is it that I'm delusional about? It's that I actually believe that artists can make money. It's
Yes.
that I actually believe that artists get to be responsible for our own brands and that as artists we can draw in our dream fans, our dream students. We can build real businesses that lead to real wealth as
Yes.
artists. And that's what he thinks is pie in the sky ultimately. And with that's the core of what I want for all artists, for artistpreneurs. I talk about going from starving artist to profitable performer, but I also talk about simply being a working singer, actor, dancer, musician, artist of any kind. That's the cap. That's the goal. There's the like big dream that I'm going to win a Tony or an Oscar or I'm going to become a celebrity. But a lot of artists that I work with, they have that sort of big dream, but they don't really think it's ever going to be for them. And
Mm.
instead, they aspire to be like a tradesman actor. It's I'm a working actor, I'm a working artist, I gig a whole lot as a musician, I'm making a living. Yes, I hustle a lot. Yes, I'm as a let's say a music teacher, I've got back-to-back students all day long and there's not a lot of time anymore for me to perform. But I'm making my living in music or making my living as an actor and that's like the cap on what they think is really possible. And I'm saying let's remove the cap,
Mhm.
let's look entirely outside of the box, and let's build the kinds of careers that only we each individually can build, which is part of what it is to be the one. It's
Yes.
to take it on as I am the one, I'm the only one that can build my artistic business the way and live it as artist, as human being, as teacher, as whatever, because I came from a music teacher, artist, like I sang and I taught singing for years and years. And a
Okay.
lot of my clients and a lot of my people who follow me on the internet are similar. It's like we're multi-passionate, we have a lot of wisdom to share. And I'm saying, let's actually build like extraordinary businesses.
Yes.
And so that's what he's saying is unrealistic. And I'm saying, but this is what I stand for. This is what it is to be an artistpreneur. But let's take it so that we actually see that pie in the sky as something that we're going to go for
Yes.
instead of something that's, oh, I got to be realistic.
Yeah, completely unattainable. I'm glad you mentioned it twice because it hit me when you said it the first time, and I really wanted listeners and viewers to focus on this. So it's ideal to learn to let your customers that aren't your ideal customers or followers or listeners or viewers, depending on what your art is, to excuse themselves, to remove themselves, to unfollow. And in the beginning, we're thinking they don't like me anymore. But you were saying they are not your ideal client, customer. They're not your ideal follower. They're not someone who's going to rave about you. Some exit gracefully without saying a word, and some need to make sure that you know that they're leaving. And then some have a lot more negative things to say before they go. But it's as simple as, oh, this isn't my particular flavor. I should go instead of what we sometimes see online, which is, I don't like the way you're doing it. And I have a lot to say about that. And so I think it's important as a consumer that we're aware, hey, there's a chance that I might be giving opinions in places that no one's asking for them. And then when people do exit my virtual room, my creation, or they're not buying my things, they're not watching and participating in what I put out there. Okay, great, because they're not for you. Sometimes when your audience is small, or when you're creating your first online business, or even when you're bigger and people exit painfully and say mean things, it does feel like, wait, I don't want to lose followers. I don't want to lose potential clients, but we don't want them. We don't want them if we're not their particular flavor of great. Why would we? And I think sometimes it's so important to remember there are billions of people available. So the more we honor, like you're saying, just the more you step further into your creations and embody all of who you are without concern for what these non aligned people are thinking, the more your audience will find you, the more your energy will carry you everywhere it needs to go. I remember for me in the beginning, it was painful when people would leave or not say that they liked my stuff or you're changing or who do you think you are? And it would hurt my feelings. I used to want everyone to like me. I was a slow bloomer. I was in my 40s before I figured that stuff out. And I probably still am a little sensitive to it because I used to be a big time people pleaser, but it's mature. And I think when you balance it with one is leaving, which leaves the space open for one more aligned. So it doesn't mean that just because one leaves, no one else is going to come. I like to think of it as, well, that guy just gave up his slot. So now that's wide open for a more perfect fitting person to come in. Empty chair, come and fill it. The artistpreneur, that is
Yes.
one of my favorite things. And I love that you've created this whole entire business around taking your artistry and combining it into a business because I think for my friends that are artists or musicians, that is the challenge. You're so naturally creative. So structure is not necessarily your forte. It is for some, but not for others. And then how do we build
Sure.
it? Which understanding energetics. Of course, you can have both. We don't
Right.
have to give up the flowy, energetic magic of our talents.
That's what I was going to say is that, as you were just saying, he left
Uh-huh.
and he left the table. And by his leaving and the way that he did, it really made me check in with this, my deep core belief that artists get to have extraordinary lives. And so I wanted Pie in the Sky to be something that would be evergreen and free
Ooh,
for
free
for
forever.
artists. And so it's beautiful that this happened at this time because normally a lot of my master classes do end up becoming paid later, but this one I really had the intuition that I wanted it to stay free because I want artists to have this information. I want them to realize that they get to have that pie in the sky and eat it. Like
Oh,
not just reach for it, not just grab the pie, but actually get that pie and eat it.
yes. And it gets to be your favorite flavor. Like it's not just like you get lemon when you want banana.
Exactly.
You get to decide what pie is up there. You put it up there, you eat it, and then you have all the fun. I what is so what anchored in for me when you just said that is it's going to be fun for us to always look back on, oh, that was when she was creating that. And we'll see
Yes.
how far it spreads. I am so fascinated by how universal energies and whatever else we want to call it. I like to think of it as magic of how things get to where they need to go for the right person to find it. And
So much synergy.
sky.
Because I literally, if we had met when we had originally planned to meet, it would
Yes.
not have happened. Like there wouldn't
Mm-mm.
have been pie in the sky.
No. And that was my favorite thing when I went to look you up. This is the greatest. It might be because I'm hungry and I love dessert, but it was the first thing I wrote down in bright red. I was like, this is awesome. And then right after, artistpreneurs, what a perfect term. Talk a little bit about how they can get started into what are the first couple steps an artist should be doing who is now thinking, you know what? So, how did you even come into that clarity? And what are some beginning steps?
Wow, because it's interesting where I was going to go somewhere else, but then where you
Go
ended,
both.
yes, I'll go both, but where you ended really called in my story of claiming the one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's interconnected. And also, I was thinking the mindset is a huge thing, which you also just touched on. The very first thing that we need, and also I wanted to harken back to structure, which you were talking about. So artists, as you were saying, are naturally creative. We're naturally creative. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a disconnect that forms for artists because the sort of archetype or the traditional path was of giving over the business part, giving over the branding part, giving over the marketing part, giving over the sales part to
Mm.
somebody else.
Mhm.
So we disconnected our natural creativity from everything that has to do with the part that actually makes the money.
Mm. That's true. Yes, because you're busy creating the art,
Exactly.
not creating the money. That's a very good point for people. Re-listen to that if you need to. Go ahead.
So I'm all about a reintegration
Mhm.
for our creativity. So it's not that we have to suddenly get business degrees. It's not that we have to create like an A to Z structure that we would follow rigidly. It's that we now open the floodgates of our actual creativity towards the things that we had handed over to others.
Brilliant.
Now, there's a big problem in the way in which we've handed things over to others. And we see this in real time with someone, for example, like Johnny Depp, who amasses a fortune, creates an extraordinary career for himself. And then somehow the accountant or whoever, he abdicated responsibility for the management of his money to
Hmm.
somebody else.
Yes.
And then you see what happens from that. Or you have a Taylor Swift who, at the beginning of her career, signs a predatory contract. And even though she becomes this extraordinary superstar, they're still like, yeah, we're going to screw her.
Yeah.
And it just is a testament to her own personal power that what she then turned that into.
Hmm.
And so I'm saying that wherever you are right now, don't, we put the idea of getting that record label, getting a record contract, getting the agent, getting the manager, hiring out to have somebody else take care of all of that other stuff that we think is boring or fake or hard. We think that's the goal. And that then we can focus on our art and somebody else is doing all that other stuff that we don't need to worry about. And I'm saying that's actually extremely short-sighted for you, for your bank account, but also for you as an artist. Because the way that I have discovered over time is that all of this part, the money part, the marketing, the sales, the branding, all of that is a highly creative aspect. And that when we abdicate responsibility, let's say for our branding, suddenly we have a brand that doesn't actually represent us. It's fake. It feels fake.
No, it doesn't.
And maybe it's popular or it's not. Maybe it, but you hear stories of artists who become successful by fitting themselves into some kind of very tight glove and dress and whatever that the industry thought they should be or look like. They're singing or performing genre that isn't really in their soul's blood. They look like something that's not the way they would want to look. And I say that's a slow death. And sometimes it's a fast death when the person literally commits suicide because it's so much out of integrity, out of authenticity, not really their soul's calling. And so I'm saying there is so much empowerment and creativity in reclaiming all of that. Not that you have to do it forever or can't collaborate with experts, but that you take on for yourself a deep knowing of who you are as an artist and how you would want that to be shared into the world through your branding and through your offers. Then when you come to get a record label involved or a manager, etc., that you are a collaborator
Yes. Yeah.
rather than a person that has just save me, please take care of all that boring stuff.
Yes.
So that's one half of this conversation.
Mhm.
And regarding the structure, it doesn't have to be that. It can be this like beautiful extension of your creativity. And
Yeah.
as I said at the very beginning, when he came at me with this pie in the sky and consensus reality, and I sat with it and contemplated it and thinking of my stuff, it's like he's really not talking about what is stuff. Like it's not a physical thing. Uh,
Mhm.
it's not my phone. It's not stuff.
Mhm.
It is it's me. because that is who I am as an artist online. And now we can get into the one. It's like, I am an artist online showing up as the one, the only me, to the best of my ability and ever evolving because it's an evolution. And as an artist, I hope that we don't ever stop growing. So I'm constantly evolving. And you can see I haven't deleted any of my earlier social media to date. It's like you can go all the way back and see the iterations when I was doing different, when I didn't know anything about marketing, and then when I was doing more masculine style marketing, and then where I am now, which is just so much more full expression of who I am.
Yes.
It might just lead me right into the story of the Genesis, which I think was the other. I was trying to harken back to what it was that was the other piece, and you were,
Yes.
so it was the like what led you into this? Wasn't that what you were
Yes.
asking?
I love that. Go
Okay.
with that.
So this is really what happened. As I shared already, I have been a singer and singing teacher, also an actor, acting coach, public speaking, I also have helped people public speaking. Like, like talking about public
Totally
speaking, and
love
I'm
the
like,
irony of that right there.
I know.
That that's going to be the funniest, best part of this because it happens to me all the time. So I'm a public speaking coach at the exact moment that I couldn't speak it. That happens to me constantly. I love this. Okay, keep going.
Is
So
the universe has a sense of humor.
I know it does. It does. This is great. Okay.
So I have a deep background in the arts and also as a teacher.
Mhm.
And a bunch of different things happen, and I book a role. It's like a dream role. I'm singing. If you're familiar with The Sound of Music, I'm
Mhm.
singing the Mother Abbess role.
Oh.
The Mother Abbess has this beautiful climb every mountain, that part.
Mhm.
It's like absolutely extraordinary,
Yes.
extraordinary song. And so I booked this role, and it's a tour. It's not just like at a regional theater nearby. It's a tour. I'm going to go from where I live in Los Angeles all the way to Alaska
Okay.
to do this performance of The Sound of Music,
Yeah.
and in a super iconic role that I'm getting to sing iconic song, and it's
Yeah.
just right in my wheelhouse. And the cast is fabulous, and we have all of our rehearsals, and there are weeks of rehearsals. And it was a short time period, but it was still a couple weeks of rehearsals during which I'm not teaching. I'm focused all on that. And it was
Mhm.
all day long rehearsals. And then we fly to Alaska, and the stage. Oh my gosh, I'd never been on such I'd never sung on such an extraordinary stage. That's not entirely true. I had auditioned at, at I had an experience auditioning on a big opera stage, but I hadn't performed for a live audience on such a
Yeah.
grand stage before. It was huge. The wings were huge. We had all the professional sound things. You're wearing the little microphone thing
Yes.
and the battery pack, and the cast is outstanding. And looking out into the audience, it was 2,000 seats.
Wow.
2,000, it's 2,000,
Great.
that's a lot of seats.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a balcony, like that's a lot of seats.
Mhm.
And it was sold out.
Yeah.
Every single performance was sold out.
Fantastic.
Now, when I'm singing Climb Every Mountain, it is the end of the first act. It is the last thing that happens in the first act. And this is what's called a curtain closing number.
Yes. Okay.
I'm standing in the spotlight, singing the song, cheers and brava. The curtain closes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now we get to the end of the second act, and it's the same, it's my song.
Okay.
Climb Every Mountain. Now the whole cast is singing Climb Every Mountain, standing ovation.
Mhm.
Okay. I realize somewhere like on stage, like it feels like I'm standing in the spotlight realizing this,
Yeah.
but I think in all truth, it was like I'm on the tour and I'm realizing that I'm going to come home from this tour, really the artistic high of my career so far, maybe breaking even,
Oh. Mhm.
barely breaking even.
Oh.
And this was the moment where I realized that all of what had led to here, which was like, let me just be the greatest artist that I can possibly be. Let me just hone my craft. Let me just do as many shows as I possibly can, no matter how much or how little they pay. Let me just work on it. Let me just be better. Let me just be better. Let me just be better. And as soon as I am good enough, then I will have that breakthrough moment where I will be well compensated and I'll stop feeling like I'm constantly chasing the break even.
Mhm.
Like I'll actually not just break even, I'll be in the black, like significantly in the black. Like maybe I'll even be able to pay for trips and go on a vacation.
Uh-huh.
Because I was living the life of the starving artist for all of these years and the working, you know, there were lots of years of starving artists, but more years of working,
Yeah.
successful working artists. I'm a working artist. I'm making my living. I've made my living in music for decades, like I really did. But it was always this like chasing the break even as
Mhm.
opposed to having any kind of
Wow.
leftover overflow or abundance.
Mhm.
And it was this tour where I just realized I am good enough. And this was the stepping into the one. I am good enough. It's not a question of being good enough. And as we share, Melanie, we know, says that I was born worthy and nothing has changed. It was never about becoming good enough. Yes, there's this development of our craft. I say this is part of what we're being compensated for is that we were gifted.
Mhm.
We artists are gifted with something, whatever the spark is. And then we pour our soul, our heart, and our money and our time into cultivating that gift.
Mhm.
And that deserves ample compensation.
It's not just applicable to artists. There's so many elements to this because you think about any career you've been in or any dream that you had and you have a specific goal in mind and when I work towards and I attain that and then you're right there, it's either the moment or getting close to the moment and you're at the tip of it and then something in you either before you get there or when you're there says, is this it? So many of us I've been working so hard for this and then all of a sudden, wait, is this it? Or I was working so hard for this, and what have I lost in the meantime? There's so many ways you can apply this and to this artistic moment, which I'm sure so many people have experienced, whether it is a piece of art or a piece of music or anything that you're creating. For you, it was a defining moment, but it didn't take away from the event and the experience. And as you tell the story, we can feel that it is still full of such greatness and such a moment in time for you. But then adding in, there can be more expansion of me. If you haven't ever heard this before, so we work with Melanie and she says, you were born worthy and nothing has changed. And for a lot of people, we've gone our whole lives never hearing that. Then the first time you hear it, it's very hard to believe because we haven't had that acknowledgement. That hasn't been reinforced in our lifetime and we don't have evidence. And then we inside ourselves are always telling ourselves, I'll be worthy when, or if I was worthy, then I would have. And that's the way I went for years. I must not be worthy because I don't have this. God's not giving me that, or I would be at this, or I would already have hit this milestone. Or so I think there's number one, taking a moment for anyone who listens or watches this to actually contemplate the fact it is possible that I'm already worthy. I was just born worthy, and there is nothing that has changed to that. So if we can start on that foundation, then it can start shifting everything going forward. And then, as you're saying, you can already be a certain distance into your career, not quite where you want to be, or you can already actually be at what you thought was the tip of the mountain. And if there's something inside you that's saying, I thought there would be more, or could there be more? Or you've reached that milestone and now you're like, what is next? That's the development and the embodiment and the consistent transformation of being the one. It's not like you just wake up one day or I know a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about when I talk about the one. But then I've interviewed so many people that they know it. And I think that's important is for people that haven't ever really considered that you are the one, take it from the angle of you are the only version of you. You are alive on this planet at this one point in time. And when you go, everything about you goes with you. So any gifts and talents and things that are on your heart or things that you had desired to create, they go. No one can do it the way you can do it. So if what's possible, I so admire the fact that you realize, okay, I have this gift and talent and I can have more wealth. And none of that came from lack. The way you stated it, there might have been times where you felt a lot of lack, but the place that you're at now and the way you've embodied your own growth and development, it's standing in, I'm not lacking. I'm not lacking in skill or talent. I have these gifts and I can have wealth. And I think sometimes that's where people can go wrong with money is if I was so talented, I'd have more money. Or I am so gifted. Why don't people recognize that? Why am I not being paid for my beautiful gifts and talents? Or we could even say someone who doesn't appear to be such a beautiful performer or not as gifted and talented as others, really not comprehending why they're not being compensated. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but we all deserve wealth. And that's a whole different podcast. But I like that you've made an entire business out of this. As you were saying, I think the way I understood it is okay, I have these beautiful gifts and talents, and I have these visions of what I want to create. And I'm going to get very clear on the visions of what I want to create and clear on who I am and where I want this to go. And then because I'm so grounded in myself and in tune with my intuition, which is the foundation of everything I teach, if I stay consistently in tune with my intuition, I am going to be led to the right collaborations. So I don't have to go and learn all the tech, but I'm going to align with the tech person for me when I'm clear on who I am and what I want. And that tech person is going to be at that right place, at that right mindset, and is not going to be consistently like trying to force something down my throat or put me in a box. They might have brilliant ideas that will expand me, that might be outside my comfort zone, but I can trust in that if I've been led to that relationship by my intuition. So what I do is, yes, take a look at the entire vision of everything you're creating. Where have you leaked your energy and where have you let other people tell you how to do it differently? And start owning that vision back at least. You may not have to learn the skills and talents, but get that vision back, get back into the creation of it, and then be open to collaborations. And if you need help with that, clearly this is what she does. You need to find her. What is their first step in this process to really, yeah, talk about some examples?
It just depends so much on where they're starting. Is it somebody that has been working on, let's say, someone, this happens a fair amount, that I get someone that is somewhat younger who's been working a lot on their own singing or music, their songwriting, like that's a thing that they've cultivated and they want to start teaching.
Ah,
And so they've started teaching, like they're just wanting to start having some additional streams of income.
okay.
This partly happens because I have a YouTube channel, Fiona Flyte. And on that YouTube channel, I had some particular videos for singers and musicians who were just starting teaching because I just remembered that part of my own history. And so those particular videos have done quite well. And so I'll get people coming in from that angle. And it's like they're just starting to teach, and it's like, how do I get the students? Like, how do I bring in the students? And so with those, it's really about often going from no students or one student to cut to a full studio. And so that has that I've done that with some of my clients. And it's like really about, again, becoming the one. It's about sitting in the certainty that you actually do know what you're doing, that you can really help people, and then creating some kind of online presence that shares that with the world so that your people find you.
Yeah.
Another one of the early clients, and this is another group of people that might come. These are the people who already have completely full studios
Mhm.
and they just have a cap on what it is that they can earn because it's just not, it's like they don't want to really raise their rates too much on their one-to-one because it's like they feel connected to students and their students at different demographics. And then those are people who I help to create additional streams of income and help them again to become more of the one online so that their brand is stronger, so that they're more recognizable, so that they can sell passive courses, so that they can sell group programs and really attract, so that they're not just get. This is the case. I'm thinking of one client in particular who just, the studio is always full based on word of mouth because she's such a great teacher.
Mhm.
And it's okay, yes, you're a great teacher, but let's give you some of your time back by creating some passive offers. Let's bring money in passively and create recurring income that doesn't require so much of your time. So I'm really good with the strategy
Yeah.
with creating offers and funnels and not all the tech of the funnel, not that, but just like how offers make sense together and how you bring someone in with this passive thing that maybe then they want to come into your group program and then maybe they want to do more closer one-to-one or whatever. But it's helping teachers to scale their businesses. So that's like the teacher side of it. But then I also have the clients who are just like, I just want to perform.
Mhm.
And the ones who are just wanting to perform, again, it's about helping them develop that online presence, that brand online, so that when somebody is thinking about who do they want to hire for their special event, for their wedding, for their a high-end wedding, or
Yeah.
for where you can be paid like thousands and thousands of dollars to do a gig, that if it's just your local down the street church, you're going to get paid $100. But in this case, I'm thinking like you're going to get flown
Yes.
to a location, to a venue that's beautiful. You're going to get your lodgings paid for. You're going to get your meals paid for. You're going to get five or more $1,000 to perform at the wedding. And you're going to have the time of your life and feel like you really did an amazing day's work. You're doing God's work at the wedding. Because I always loved singing at weddings. I always felt like I was helping to create a memory of a lifetime,
Oh,
that this bride or this groom, that they chose you because they've been following you and they love you and they're a huge fan. And
yes.
that your online presence, your online brand, your authenticity, everything about you in terms of how you show up online, it starts to bring in these kinds of opportunities because you're so like showing up as the one.
Oh. And you know what is funny is I am not an artist in any way, shape, or form. And I can feel a little kid inside me so excited. Yes. Do you know how many fun things we could be doing? I feel the energy around what is possible. And because I can imagine, right as you started talking, I put myself in the listener's positions a lot. And I think some artists might hear this and think, I don't even have the time. Where am I going to find the time to be able to do this when I'm so busy doing that? And yet, we all have the same amount of time in the day,
Yeah.
and that's why you want to find someone who knows how to organize this for you. And the beautiful element of following and connecting with someone who is 3, 4, 10, 15 steps down the road, is they are able to look back and see what you don't see. And
Yeah.
then look at your portfolio, what you're doing, how you've organized your time, how you've organized your schedule, and where your gifts and talents lie. And then where we can repurpose things, where you can actually buy back your time and still make the same amount of money and then increase the amount of wealth that you have. This is so exciting because I can see how the exposure you help them get, the way that they actually can look at their skill and talent as a business. And if you want something to draw in wealth, then you need to own that you're not just an artist. I'm a paid artist. I deserve to be paid. And I think sometimes there is that catch when you have these natural born gifts and talents that we struggle with. How much do I deserve to be paid? Or this comes so easily to me, maybe I shouldn't. Or I think you're right. The more we embody that I am the one to do this, this is where my gifts, talents, heart, passion lies. I'm good at what I do, and I want to share it with the world. I think that having guidance on that, owning that and having guidance on that is key to you really being fulfilled in your career. And the one other thing that popped in my head, of course, I said the one, is when you were talking about how people want to fill their studios and they only have 1 or 2 clients to begin with. Of course, you and I know the same principle about the one. So when you're starting out or when you're adding a new element to your business and you're hoping for 5 new clients, but you only get 1, sometimes we look at that, that's not enough, but it is 1. So that was the way I was raised. We are consistently looking for the one that I need to help, the one that I want to serve, the one who's looking for me, the one who needs me to show up as my best. And yet, can you imagine if you were that one client who signed up for the studio, or if you were the one client who showed up for the course, and the person that is going to be teaching you or serving you or that you bought from, in their mind, they're thinking, but I only have 1 instead of I wanted 10. How would that feel if that was you? I am 1 and I showed up here and I paid you. For me, that has always been something that I pay attention to, is in anything you put out there. If you're doing a live stream online, if you're playing your first song on YouTube, if you have just barely posted a new piece of art that you're going to be selling and only 1 person notices it, it's not only 1. We look at it as 1 already noticed, 1 already bought from me, because, and Melanie was the one who taught me this, it can be 1 person buying at the exact same time as another person in a different location, as another person in a different location, and another person. It is always 1 buying from you. So it's just 1 that happens to be, when you do have 10 students, you have 1 and 1 and 1, and they add up to 10. And so 1 can never be not enough. And if we start with, oh, there's already 1, and then there's already 2, and then there's already 3, you're changing, you're instantly transforming how you feel about what you've created and put out there, and about the ones that are showing up in your life. Because this person, no matter how much they paid you, they came to you for your skill, your talent, your offering, whatever it is, your book. They're paying, they're exchanging their money with you for your gift and your talent. So we don't want to discount that 1. We want to recognize there's already 1, and I'm going to get another one, and I'm going to get another one, and let that 1 be enough. Celebrate that 1. And the more we do that, then another shows up and another. So I loved that you had mentioned that, because I do think that's really important for when you're starting, or even when you have a very successful business, we never want to lose track of. I have 10,000 followers. I have 100,000 followers. That is 100,000 people that choose to put me in their daily life. They choose to follow me online. They choose to listen to my music. I think it's really easy to let that go, let that slide. That's 100,000 humans. That's 10 humans that are choosing to interact with me. They choose me. And I think if we can get back to that and stand on that foundation in anything that we do, or especially as you're expanding your already existing business, then it makes the transition into more, even better, even more exciting. I love this.
Such
This
a good
is
reminder.
so good. So when you got to the place that you were like, okay, I am the one and I'm going to be doing this, for those that might be hearing and that are feeling a little nervous, how did you get over that fear that,
Mm,
okay, I can grow into the next level of me?
yeah,
And can you give an example of what might be a good place for, since you can relate to a lot of artists, what
yeah.
do you think helped you the most in your expansion?
Oh gosh. One of the things that I think is really fascinating about my own journey is that prior to making the decision, like clearly drawing a line in the sand and making the decision after that show to get online and to change my whole destiny and whole
Yeah.
trajectory. Prior to that, I had no online presence. So I was not a digital native. Had a strong aversion. Everything that I had was private.
Yes.
And I also grew up feeling like I having a pretty low opinion of how I looked
Mm.
and what I looked like in photos and on camera and all of that. And this to the point where when I did a production of La Boheme in, I don't know, quite a, let's say 5 years, estimating like 5 years before all of this happens and I go
Mhm.
online. I do a production of La Boheme singing me. And the tenor was very happy with our performance. And he created some videos of our duets and he posted them to YouTube. And I was mortified.
Mm.
I didn't want anyone to see these. I didn't think that they were good enough. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think we were good enough. Good, good, not good enough, not good enough, unworthy, unworthy, imposter syndrome, insecurity, insecurity. So, one of the things about performing live is that there isn't a video.
There's no editing anything. There's no fixing that. It is what it is. Yeah.
And particularly like now, more and more, there is that kind of stuff. But at this time, there really wasn't. So there, I was comfortable performing on stage because there wasn't a video of this. And I wanted him to take it down. Now, I didn't ask him to take it down because I had already had enough personal development to deal with the emotional intelligence coming up around this.
Mhm.
I just sat with the mortification and the discomfort in it, but I really clocked that this was a thing. And so I'm coming to this decision to be online from literal like less than zero in terms of my comfort, in terms of content creation, in terms of any of it. That being said, it was too important not to do it. I understood the value on the other side, and I just did make the decision. I chose for myself that I was going to step into this and do whatever it took because I knew that this was the pathway to dreams come true, to pie in the sky. That if I was going to get that pie in the sky, it was going to come through social media because this is the venue. Like this is, it levels the playing field for artists. It means that suddenly we have the ability to create our own branding, to share our art, and to attract thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of fans that we didn't ever have before. We no longer needed a gatekeeper. And I was at a place in my career where I had decided that I was going to do whatever it took to be my own opening of the gate. I was not going to wait for a gatekeeper. I was going to open the gate, and this was how I was going to do it. So I confronted all of that. And one of the beautiful things that happened for me is that started to, I started with a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was editing all of my own content. And what I discovered in the editing of my content, I started to watch myself as though I wasn't me. So there was me who was in the present editing this beautiful person talking about important things. And the more that there was that sort of separation between the present me who was editing this other person that was so wise and pretty and so expressive and so well spoken, that I started to fall in love
Oh,
with her, with this person that I was spending so much time with. I was listening to her all the time. And I was editing a singing video and a speaking video every week because I'm one of those artists that have bridged the gap between the performing and the teaching. I had always had the two vocations.
mm,
Story for another time, there was certainly friction, but by this moment in time, the integration between performing artist, singer, and performing artist coach was really integrating. And so I wasn't going to abandon my singing self in order to make money as a coach. And I wasn't going to not coach because I only wanted to sing because I had so much wisdom to share.
yeah.
And so I was editing both my art and my other art,
Mhm.
my art as a coach, my wisdom, and my art as a singer. I think of the voice with a capital V. I think of the voice
Mm,
as the integration of the inside, like the inner voice,
yes.
through the outer voice.
Oh, I
And
love.
when I was doing more teaching of voice use, this is what were talking about because I'm always coming at everything from the hero's journey, from the inner work, from the personal development, from the spiritual path.
Yes.
And so here I am embodying what it is that I teach on the videos through my voice, the integration of inner and outer voice. And then there's the me that thought I looked bad or didn't was so judgmental of certain exterior things. And I couldn't stay in that identity of judgment anymore as I fell in love with this extraordinary woman that was pouring her heart out on the screen.
Oh, I know this is important because I felt all of that. And it's funny. I want to point out two things before I go too far, which was I loved that you said I wasn't going to wait for a gatekeeper. I decided to open the gate. I feel like that, I think people need to think about that. What have you been waiting for? And you're the one to do it. You're the one to open the door. And I think for me personally, which I don't really like to get personal on these, I like to hear everybody else's story, but I could so resonate with, I feel like I should say, I'm 52 and I hated photos. I wouldn't take photos. I wouldn't be online. I can completely understand what you felt when that person posted the videos and you're like, oh shit, I don't want those out there, but I'm not going to say anything. And the one thing for anyone of any age, please start taking photos. Start documenting your work. Start including yourself in pictures and videos of the things that you create. Make sure you get videos of yourself singing. Make sure you get videos of yourself painting. Make sure, if you're a writer, make sure you get pictures of yourself and videos of yourself writing, even if you don't like them right now. Because at any age, we're always going to be critical. And I can imagine when you're a natural born creator, there's going to be part of you that thinks it's not good enough, especially if you're an artist. I could always make this better. That sound isn't quite right, or this color on this painting isn't quite right, or I could do this differently. And I don't know where my self criticism and self judgment started and why it went so deep for so long. And literally, doing these podcasts is still, I would rather just do podcasts than do videos, but there's something so important about, even if you're at a place where you can't even conceptualize the idea of self-love, I want to really reinforce you're never going to be this age again. These songs that you're creating, the books that you're writing, the art that you're doing, you're going to outgrow those. You're going to go into different phases. And if you don't have pictures and videos, it's not the same when it's just one picture. You want to have your voice, you want to have your movement, you want to have your laughter. And if you don't want those, someone in your family will when you're gone. And we never really think about that. We lost my brother when he was 36, and none of us have enough videos of him. To have his laugh on some videos would be a dream. And if you are older and you're not an artist and you happen to hear this, one thing I would love to invite you to do is we all carry these little smartphones. Someday, just sit down, turn that camera around, turn it on, and tell some stories. Tell some stories for your kids and for your grandkids. Tell some stories for your friends. Talk about your passions. Talk about the highlights of your life. Talk about things that you created that nobody knows. Or there will be stories that are going to pass down. There are going to be the only things. In fact, one of my friends and I were just talking about that this weekend, how in 100 years, your name may not even exist anymore. No one who actually, it would be very rare for anyone who actually knew you to still be alive. So there will be your children or grandchildren, but your parents will be gone, your siblings might be gone. So I remember thinking, the only way to be remembered is to actually be some sort of artist, because books live on in libraries, right? Even though there's so much online stuff, an actual book, it lives on. Your children can keep it. I've got all these books I look at. Art hangs on the wall. Music, it lasts for decades. And to be honest, oh my gosh, it's going to make me emotional. I created this podcast because I thought someday I'll be gone and my nephews will see this. And I wanted them to be proud of me. And I thought, they may not, they're young. They're only a year and 2.5. I'm 52. I'm never going to be this person by the time they grow up. I'm going to be old. I'm not going to be fun Aunt Lisa. I'm going to be old, crazy Aunt Lisa. And I thought, but if I do this, they'll know who I was when they were born. They'll know who I was. They'll know the things I cared about. And I think that's so key. Is I really love that you brought this up, and I apologize for getting emotional, but I feel like there's a really important message here for anyone who happens to come across this, that if you're avoiding pictures, if you're avoiding cameras, if you don't love yourself, please start taking some pictures and videos. You don't have to share them with anyone, but make sure they exist. Make sure they exist so people can know about you. And I would love for you to record little bits about you. I'm a journal writer, but that's not the same. People are going to read it from their voice. It's not going to have the tone. When something really great happens, I always tell my friends, okay, I love that you're calling me, telling me this, but hang up with me right now and take a video. I want a video of you in this excited energy with all of these details, and then call me back, because you're going to want to keep that. You're going to want to remember that memory. And even in the bad times, sometimes take a video, go back, because there's life lessons from that. And I think it might be a little off topic, but I'm so glad you brought this up, because I do feel like it's so important to learn how to, if you can't grasp self-love, at least grasp there's only one of me. We're currently living in this one life, and at some point I'm going to exit, and I don't have control over that. How will people remember you if there's nothing to watch, if there's nothing to read or see or to hear your voice? What is your piece of art? Even if it's just a little note or a little letter, write it down, keep it, save it. I love what you're doing. I love that you're teaching artists. And that's one thing I also felt, aside from that, like how important it is to put yourself on YouTube so that the world can find you. You don't have to love it, but if it's not out there, no one can find you. Look at social media as this magical way for someone across the world to find you. to find your gift and talent or to be inspired by you.
Yeah. Welcome the one, right? At the
Yes.
beginning, like the
Yes.
one at a time, and not be discouraged if it's just the one. Really
Yeah.
welcome that one.
There's already one. There's one. There is one.
And you're the one. So
Yep.
even if there's none, there's one because there's you.
Because we don't know. And that's the thing, too. We talk about this all the time. We don't know the ripple effect. Someone may not find you for 5 years, but they're going to find you when they need to find you. And if it's not out there, no one can find it. Is there anything like you feel that you would like to add
I
before?
think it really came off of what you were just saying that if you're finding this in the future, I'm making the commitment to keep that pie in the sky available because I just really, I want you to go for the pie in the sky.
Mm. I love this. So, my favorite thing to ask at the end is considering the woman that you are now and what you feel for your future, how would you end the sentence? I am the one who.
Ooh, I am the one who left a legacy of artists creating generational wealth for themselves, their children's children, from their art and from the sharing of their wisdom. I've created a legacy of artists claiming and fully owning the artistpreneur archetype.
I felt that. I really felt that you have no idea the gift that you have given. What if you helped one person 7 years ago who then helped another person who then became one of the most famous singers out there? We don't know. We have no idea. You help one, and then they help one, and then they help one. And it's always more than one.
Right.
When you said that, I could feel goosebumps up my back that yes, your legacy will be generational wealth. I could feel that there is a very big ripple from your connection and dedication to helping artists really put their art out there. And what a gift that is.
It's interesting. I just, if I may share one more thing, because it really came through as a reminder to me. This is something that I have lived in for a long time, even before I pivoted my business from teaching, singing, and acting to helping with this bigger mission. That all along I was helping artists to be more self-believing, to helping artists to be more self-loving, helping artists to be more authentic, and also helping artists to be more creative on the business side. There is somebody right now who I helped 15 years ago or something who has an online presence now helping singing teachers to make money as singing teachers. This was so many years. This wasn't even a sparkle in my eye, any of this. And she said to me that you were the one that made me realize I could become a singing teacher. And now the ripple of that, she's got a business that is deeply supportive of, and a whole community. She could be a human design for as well. It's very community driven of so many music teachers that she's been helping to really create solid businesses. And so to your point, the ripple began so long ago and will continue so far into the future.
We will never, ever know the final effect of our ripple because it'll just carry. And I think that's what's so beautiful about energy and art and connection is if you are willing to let what you feel is inside you or what needs to come through you out, it can get to the people it needs to get to. And there's something so beautiful about how energy carries things, how frequency aligns for people to meet at the right point in time. And I think artists are so gifted. Make sure people can find your gift. And I also want to add, we're all artists. You may not be a musician. You may not paint beautiful pieces of art. You may not have a book in you, but you know what? You do your craft differently than anybody else. You can have a thing that you consider a very boring office job, and yet it wouldn't be the same if you weren't there. And I think that's key. There is something in you that is only yours. Let it shine, let it show, and then be in touch with you. Love you. Recognize there is only one of you. And I really hope for anybody who hears this and sees this, that if there's something that's been sitting in there that you've been too afraid to put out to the world, we will be there to give you that little push. She will support you in how to do it. So, how can people find you? Give them all your favorite social media places.
I want to tag one more thing on, which
Mhm.
is that what I was really hearing from you just now is the truth of how much we believe in people. Like we
Yes.
really
Yes.
believe in you who are listening. We really believe in your ability to have the pie in the sky. Like we really believe
Mhm.
in your ability to become, to be, to have all of who you really were meant to be and become in this lifetime. And I get that from you so much,
Thank
Lisa. I
you.
really feel that from you. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much. You can find me at Fiona Flyte everywhere. It's Fiona Flyte. Flight is spelled with a Y,
Bye.
Flyte.
Mhm.
I have a YouTube channel. I'm an active singer as well as coach for artists. I think that's something that makes me very unique as
Mhm.
an artist coach because a lot of the artist coaches out there, they think they know what they're doing or they think they know what it is to be an artist,
Mhm.
but they either aren't artists or they gave up their artistry in
Yes.
order to go all in. But I know what it is to live as an artist, and I can help you to bring your art to market. That's the point.
Mhm.
So there's the YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram. Those are my primary places. You can register for Pie in the Sky for free. And I've got a free Facebook group as well called The Profitable Performer with Fiona Flyte. You can search me on any of the socials, and I'm sure you'll find me.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and it is a pleasure to now really know you. I'm grateful for everything that you shared, and I feel the value in it. So, thank you everybody for watching and listening. Such a pleasure. I really hope you take this in. I really hope that you feel it's time. It is time, and you can do it. And she's here to show you how. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you again soon.